Hi, welcome to That's Jacqueline. I'm Jacqueline, and I'm here talking with Larissa Marquez, an educator and a mother of three in the San Antonio, Texas area. We are talking about my blog article, Cradle to Grave, Education Cradle to Grave, and we are talking specifically about pre-K. We broke pre-K up into three parts because we both feel like it's such an important thing that the first 5 years of life are the foundation that you're going to build your whole education on. So we kind of covered, the hopes and dreams that you have for your child in episode 1. In episode 2, we talked about some of the problems that a parent may face in, pre-K, educating their children, everything from, issues with child care and daycare and, support at home, feeding your child when you're low income, and disabilities and other things that may come into play in a pre-K program. So now we're going to talk about a little bit more, and Larissa, I apologize, and I have had multiple conversations about how we feel like our government and our community can do better to support children that that can't afford a good pre-K program. We've talked about that the main hindrance to a good pre-K education a lot of time is money and time, and for low income or dual working families that becomes insurmountable, and it's really not something that they can push past on their own. It's an age-old problem, and it's been around for at least 100 years. And it just really is not something that's going to go away without help. And if we don't set up the right foundation, these children can be 4 years behind. I read a study that talks specifically about how a child who doesn't get a good pre-K education is usually about 4 years behind. It takes them 4 years to kind of catch up. And during that time period, they experience self-esteem issues, they experience behavioral problems. It's a tax on the system because we have to, pay for tutors inside the school. We have to, there's all kinds of resources that we have to throw at it, that if we would have thrown the same money into a good pre-K program, would have gotten these children ready. So Larissa, let's talk about kind of what we've talked about what we think could be done better. What should our government be offering people in the pre-K area? What do you think needs to happen?
Okay, number one, when you think about it, that we're constantly, or the government's constantly talking about creating jobs, and making America great, again, and needing jobs. Hello, you've got this huge market here with education. There's so many jobs that can be created there.
That's an excellent point. That's a really excellent point.
Yeah, when you talk about the foundation, creating this foundation, strong foundation with these kids, pre-K, kinder, the things that are needed are, you need extra assistance. So many teachers need extra assistance in the classroom. The classroom ratio, I remember there was a point in time where I actually had 25 pre-Ks, and then they tacked on 3 more, so I had 28.
See, and that's just wrong. I mean, I can hardly keep track of one toddler. I can't imagine trying to keep track of 20-something. So let's stay on kind of our task. Personally, I think that we should be paying for pre-K programs just the same as, kindergarten through 12th grade. I think it should be a permanent part of the education system. Exactly. I think that every school should have a pre-K program there. I think that program should not be a 3-hour program. It should be an all-day program, so children whose parents work can still take part in it. I think that meals need to be served throughout as part of the program. That includes snacks, breakfast, lunch, and dinner if they're that long.
Exactly. We talked about that. Definitely.
Yeah, you and I talked about a little bit, and we'll go into this maybe.
Is really important.
Yeah, in episode 4, I want to talk about this. But educating parents too is so important. Getting a parent ready. A parent doesn't just know how to teach their child, and they just don't know how to navigate the education system. So we really have to do more to support a parent, especially a single parent or a dual family parent, parents who are working so much and they feel kind of out of touch. it's really hard for them to navigate these things, and it's hard for them to know. You don't just grow up knowing how to teach a child. A child is this thing that you have to keep alive, and you don't just know. So having more supportive programs and things set up for these parents, I know that Head Start does an excellent job in educating parents, and it really gets these parents ready for homework, and it gets them ready on a schedule. You and I have talked about this before, about how important it is getting your kid ready to learn a schedule. And so it teaches all these skills that really ultimately benefits the community. When we do this, when we set up our children with the right foundation, they are ready to succeed. You imagine if every child in this country was ready to succeed. How would that take off the strain of other programs? People say, well, it's welfare and it's this. Well, you know what? You can set up a child the right way and set them off on their path, ready to learn and ready to succeed. And you can help their parents with any kind of problems that come in the way. And then when that child is an adult, they go out as working, contributing members of society, versus children who struggle through their entire lives and they don't really have opportunities when they graduate. And so they become more of the system. That is what people are concerned if they're having to take advantage of programs to help them because they literally don't know how to help themselves. So I think you're,
and that's all problem solving. See, if you start at the very beginning, because the education system really from kinder through fourth grade is cyclical, the skills that they learn, and the majority of it is going to be pre-K, kinder, and first grade. Those are the most skills that they're going to learn, the very foundations of life for children. But what happens is all those things get interrupted, and
they have to be learned. It's not like they just go away. It's not like you just, okay, well, I'm in kindergarten now, or I'm in first grade, or I'm in this, and so that's not my need anymore. I really believe that when a need is not met, it stays there, and it stays there until it's met. And
right.
So you can't, even though a child may progress and they may seem like they're doing okay, lack of self-esteem, anxiety about succeeding, there's all of these things become part of a child, and they trickle down. You see them come out later. I just know that things that I've seen with my own children, that if you don't address the problem when it's there, it will come back for you. Mm-hmm. So I mean, it's so much easier to take a little person and mold them and teach them love and compassion and getting along with others, and teaching them to have a good self-esteem and to respect themselves and to contribute and be part of a society at a young age. It's so much easier to teach them that than it is to try to teach it to them later. When they have been taught that they are important when they're little, then they grow up to treat other people as if they are important, and they treat themselves important. That gets rid of things down the line. And we've talked about this on our own, that things like teen pregnancy, drug addiction, entering into the criminal system. Those things can be eliminated if we address these needs that these children have now. They are living, breathing beings. You could not put a plant in the dark and expect it to grow and flourish. You have to give a child what they need.
Now I remember what I was going to say. What I was going to say is that education is interrupted. Real important skills, math skills, problem solving skills, literacy skill, which is critical thinking skills. Those skills are skills that are going to help them throughout life. Now, if that brain functioning is interrupted by not getting proper nourishment, not getting enough water, which is really
important.
Really important for brain functioning. Not enough sleep, which is another problem that we see, especially with parents, not just single parents, but dual parent families.
They just don't know how to set boundaries for their children. Right, they haven't learned. Maybe they didn't learn in their lives. Maybe their parents didn't have good boundaries, healthy boundaries for them. And so they're trying to learn something they don't know. They're trying to teach a child something they don't know.
Or it's the only time they have to spend with their kids because they've been working, so many hours.
And that happened with me a lot. I used to take my son in. I used to carry him in from daycare at night asleep, and a lot of times I'd wake him up just so I could hug him and kiss him and tell him I loved him, and read him a story, and he'd be half asleep, and then he'd have to go back to school, and I'm sure he was tired the next day. But it was like, I used to have to look at it like, what's more important, love or education? And a child shouldn't have to choose.
I had a parent tell me, you're gonna laugh. I had a parent come to me one time and tell me, I have to tell you this story. I caught my son, and I kept knocking on the bathroom door, and he wouldn't come out. And I said, well, why are you telling me this? Was what I was thinking. And she said, well, he said he was busy reading because you told him he needed to read in the restroom. And I laughed. Well, what had happened was we were laughing in class one day. I said, one of the kids said, I don't have time for this. This is why I couldn't do my work. I didn't have time. And I said, okay, look, there's always time. Let's go ahead and work out a schedule. Let's talk about what our schedules are like at home. So we literally wrote on the chalkboard from the time they got up in the morning till the time they got home
what they should be doing.
Exactly.
Just to teach them. So we're running short on time. But I definitely think that we should probably for sure slot that into our next discussion, because I think a schedule is really important. And we're going to be talking about kindergarten the next time. So I think it's really important. So we'll talk about the foundation that you need to set for in time by kindergarten, that by kindergarten, all of these things need to be in line. So I thank you for coming and talking to me. We're going to be leaving in the description some links and some information for anybody who wants to know. If you'd like to read the article, it's on thatsjacqueline.com. I'm going to be updating it with new article blogs as we go along. So for each new episode, there'll be some, resources, and there'll be some thoughts from both me and Larissa. I'm going to include some of those things in there. Also, me and Larissa both will be going back through the YouTube channel, and we will be looking for any comments and questions. So if you have a comment or question, please put it there. Yes, we're really, this is a huge subject, and it's something that's big and important, and we're both very passionate about as parents and as people who have worked in the education system in one way or the other, either as employed, as Larissa is, or as volunteers, so as I was. So we are going to be, covering a lot about this. So if you want to check it out, please check it out. And like I said, any questions or suggestions that you have, we'd love to hear, because, I think this is a really big problem that we need to address as a community. So I thank you, and I hope I'll see you back next time, and I'll bid you good night.